Hey, Ted Rankin coming to you today from the future. I just completed the new clutch installation on the M5, and there are three things that are critical that I want you to know before you do this job. This video is not a how-to. This video is just more of a documentation of what I did to my M5, so I have record of it later on. Maybe somebody buys the car, it'll be there forever. So the three things that I learned from doing this job that you won't find on other DIYs. One, the dual mass flywheel. There is a locating pin on the crankshaft. You'll see it. You'll know what I'm talking about. What they don't tell you is that there are these locating divots. You'll see them. Ugh, this is so heavy. Do you see those right there? Those two little divots right there? Directly above it, in that hole, that is where the locating pin will be on your crankshaft. This has to be lined up, or else your crank position sensor will not be able to detect where the crank is in relationship to where it wants to be for top dead center. Make sure you get that right. You will find that in the Bentleys. So here's, okay, maybe we go to step two here, or tip number two. Get a paper Bentleys manual. I've got the digital, and here's the deal. When you're working on the car, it's a pain to kind of go get the computer, look it up, maybe print those pages off. And so what you end up doing is just kind of winging it. And I think to do it again, I would want a paper manual just so you can flip to the page, have it open. The torque specs are all there. The Bentleys is pretty good. So that's maybe tip number two. Digital's fine, but you know, once you print out those pages, you look it up, you print them out. I guess you could have a computer outside with you, but I don't know. Anyway, do what you will. The second thing is, and this is pretty important because it really freaked me out, is that your crank position sensor, take it out. It says disconnect it. Don't just disconnect it, take it out. Because look, when I pulled the transmission off and I was cleaning up inside of there, it was all intact. So coming out, it was fine. Putting it back together, obviously, it got destroyed. And so when I went to go start the car, there was no start. And I thought, oh my God, I've not put the flywheel on in the correct orientation because I didn't know about it. I saw the dowel and I kind of looked at the flywheel, and I got lucky because I knew there was going to be a hole that was bigger. I didn't know about the two divots. So dudes, seriously, take this thing out because you can see what happened. When I was wiggling that transmission back up in there, I destroyed it. There's a top piece to this somewhere over here. It doesn't matter, trust me, it's destroyed. So when I did my first crank, part of it got caught and just destroyed this thing. There you go. I don't know if it's focusing well. Take it out, save yourself 70 bucks. Right? Right. Good. The next thing is, as a time saver, take off your rear bumper to drop the exhaust down. At least for me, this is the situation. My heat shields wanted to keep getting hung up on the inside lip of the bumper on either side here. And so we ended up messing around with that. We ended up kind of pulling the heat shield down in two separate pieces. Left the heat shields up, unbolted them. Look, the bumper comes off in like 15 minutes if you do it slow. There's two push pins under each wheel well here, at the back side of each wheel well. There's like 4 in the trunk, and then there's 6 bolts for 3 on one side for the crash bumper, 3 on the other side for the crash bumper. The whole thing just pulls off. I'm telling you, save yourself the minutes, because I think screwing around trying to lower the the exhaust down. Took us, I don't know, 45 minutes or something screwing around, and the bumper comes off in minutes. That's what we did, putting it back in. So easy. Just tons of clearance, nothing in the way, nothing getting hung up. And so those would be my tips. Seriously. Other than that, this job took a lot longer than I thought, and I really can't explain why. I guess maybe I just hadn't done the BMW before, but God, it was like I went into a time warp. It just seemed like everything took twice as long. I think if you weren't doing the rebuild of the shifter, if you're not doing the center support bearing, if you're just simply pulling it out and putting a clutch and dual mass flywheel back in, maybe it's a day, but doing everything took me days. So, you know, hey, I don't work fast generally. I kind of putz along, but still plan more time for this than you're probably thinking you need to do if you're doing everything. So that's it. I hope this has been some use to you. Even if you're, like I said, this is not a how-to video, but if you're just watching this intro, you can stop here and just take these tips. Seriously, they'll help you out. So that's it for now. Until next time, have a good time. See ya. Hey guys, Ted Rankin here, coming to you today, working on the M5. We're going to do a new clutch on this and some other things too. We're going to do the center support bearing. We're going to do the fluid change. We're going to obviously do all the inside stuff. So we're going to do throw-out bearing, everything related with the clutch we're going to have done today. So this isn't going to be a real how-to. This is more of a documentary of doing the clutch change just for any future owner should I ever get rid of this thing, and maybe some notes to myself. This is going to be for my M5. It's a 2001, if I can get any good shots of it. I've already got it up on the lift, and you can tell she's been in winter storage. Let's see if I can get some, can you see the dust blowing off of that thing? So it's been in storage all winter, and I'm just getting her out now. And this is for my car. This is the serial number. See if I can get it on here. Flipping the thing backwards here, if I can get this. So this is for serial number BZ98833. And my mileage right now is, give me 1 second. Come on, baby. Let's see if I can get you to, give me 1 second, guys. Just want to fight me. There we go. Key and ignition. Come on, show me your, come on. Come on. Hold on. Why isn't this giving me my, give me a second. Hold on. There she is. So I don't know if you can see that, but that is right now 81,727 miles. And so we're doing everything on this thing today. We're doing the dual mass flywheel. I've been told by some pretty reliable sources that at 80,000 it's probably not necessary, but I don't know. I won't know until I get in there and see how that play is. So what, I got a good deal on the thing, so I'm just going to do it. And so everything's going to be done. Rear main seal is going to get done, new flywheel, new clutch pressure plate, new throw-out bearing. I'm going to show you something when I get to the parts. I got the clutch and throw-out bearing from Luck, and that throw-out bearing from Luck is garbage, dudes. I'm telling you. I looked at that thing and I immediately knew I wasn't going to play. So I got like a factory OEM style from Saks? I don't know. Anyway, so we'll get some shots underneath the car too, since we're gonna have to take everything down. We'll look at the suspension. We'll, you know, just kind of do an overview, see how she's doing these days. It's been sitting around for a while. I hardly ever drive this thing. It's, you know, it's my garage queen, even though it is actually the beast. I didn't name it, it came that way. I bought this car from the estate of the original owner, and I didn't think it was appropriate to change it. I found some history on the M5 board where he and his son had named the car. So I've just kept it. You know, if a new owner wants to change it, that's up on them, but I don't know, I thought it was respectful to just keep it the way it was. Anyway, we'll get into this today, and you know, I'm expecting it's gonna take a day and a half, maybe, the way I work. And then what will make it easier is, you know, if you've seen any of my Mustang stuff, you know I almost always do everything by myself. But today I've got my brother here from Arizona, so the extra set of hands is gonna do a world of wonder on lifting this stuff in and out. And we'll leave it there for now, and we'll catch up in a second on the parts list. Here's everything that's gonna go in today. So starting from the front, kind of working towards the back. Here's the new dual mass flywheel from Luck. And so there's the part number. What is it? 415011010. We've got a new clutch and pressure plate, new bolts. We've got the throwout bearing, and here's what I was saying before. This is the one that they sent from Luck. Can you see that? Can you see how garbage that is? And then here's the one from, this was a Sachs model. And let's see, you can see, look how nice. That's just like a normal rolling bearing. And you got that other one, that's just garbage. I don't know what the deal was with that. I've got a new one of these center tubes. Sometimes they wear. I think I didn't need this, but I got it anyway. It was cheap enough. New clutch fork. Again, probably don't need it, but you know, I'm in there. We're swapping over the pivot to a brass with a new clip. We've got the tools. We've got the flywheel locking tool for torquing. You're going to need one of these tools so you can break the bolts on the flywheel free. And of course, we've got the centering tool, and we've got a new bearing. What are these called? You know, the bearing. You know what it's called. Anyway, and then moving down here, for some reason, I don't know how I bought a lot of these parts a long time ago, but here is the new complete kit that has the housing and the has the new main bearing seal, but I also have a new seal. I don't know why I've got two separate ones. A couple new gaskets, a new flex disc, and oh yeah, so all of the stuff for rebuilding the shifter. So got the bushing, got the new I don't know what we call it, but you know, the other spacer bushing thing, new clips, the pin that goes with it, the new pin that goes with that part, you know, some of the spacers, the new bearing cup or the shifter cup. Oh, and these new rubber bushings. There should be two of these somewhere. So there we go. This one, I got two of these. And then new pin up here. Again, another part that you probably don't have to replace, but I'm doing anyway. New center support bearing. This is just the, what do you call it? The adhesive stuff that goes up between it and the chassis. And then we're also going to replace the fluid in the transmission. I'm using Redline D4F. D4ATF. When we drop the thing out, we're gonna do the CV joint, the rear CV joint, and I'll repack it. Some nice grease here, some more Redline grease. I've got some new nuts. Now here's something on the rear CV that I just read in the Bentleys, and they say that the nuts on the CV are one-time use. I don't know why that is. It says that they're locking. I don't know. I bought new ones and they cost me a small fortune. I don't know that you really have to reuse them. I've got them anyway. Got some knocker loose for the exhaust bolts and nuts. And what else? I think that's kind of it in a nutshell. That's gonna be everything from the start to the finish. Okay, so a quick little overview. So here's the chassis. Super clean under here, as you would probably imagine. And you'll see there's a little tiny bit of oil, but all that is I had a power steering leak at one time, and you'll see a little bit more of that up here. And what happens on the power steering lines is they have the little clampers, the little the tension clamps, right? You smash them down. The hose gets a little small and they get a little weepy, so I've fixed that. So that's the residual. That's all you're seeing here. That's just power steering, old stuff. So when we drop the pan down, we'll replace we'll clean all that. Wheel bearings are nice and tight on both sides. Same with the rear. And with the power steering reservoir, what I did is instead of letting it, when it's under pressure, it weeps all over the place. I'm sure you guys have seen that. I just ran a drain line, just, over the top and through the bottom. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna drop the belly pan here. We're gonna throw some knocker loose on the exhaust manifold bolts back underneath here. And then, just start dropping the exhaust, then the heat shields and the whole thing. But there she is, man, ready to rock and roll. Quick little update. Exhaust is out. A little bit more challenging than you would be led to believe, but not bad. The rear hangers are on the stock unit are a little bit more of a challenge. So, if you're doing this, just kind of be patient. It'll work out. And then, so we'll just do the heat shields next, and then we'll work on getting the drive line out. But here's what she looks like. And it's got a little tiny bit of a drip of oil from the fill plug right here. It's nothing. So I've got all the records from the previous owner on this. I just didn't bother to look to see if it had been changed out or not, but a little tiny bit of a weep, nothing special. So we'll be checking that. Good thing is there's no leaks up front. That's it. So that's our update for now. Moving along nicely. All right, a little bit of an update. So we have the drive line out, all of the shields, of course, the exhaust that you saw. We're probably 5 hours into this, and so taking longer than I thought it would. We had to do some maneuvering around. My lift was going to be in the way right underneath the transmission, so we had to drop that and get the thing up on some stands, and a little bit of recalibrating here and there. But so we are just now, so we've got almost all of the bolts out of the bell housing. There's just the two left on the very, 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 very top that you can't see here, and then that's it. We'll drop him down. So you know, it ends up being, it's quite a job, you know, but it really, I don't know that this is anything that I could have done on my own. So it's really, really good that I have some assistance here. Quick little update. So clutch is out, flywheel's off, and I'm glad I picked up the new dual mass clutch. This is obviously got a ton of play in it. Can you see that? And you can see this thing has been slipping and burned up. You can see all the glazing on there. Here's the clutch disc. Got quite a bit of glaze as well. And I think this is the original. I mean, I can't swear to it, but it sure looks like, you know, taking everything apart, it doesn't look like it's been torn apart before. And here's the pressure plate. Again, you can see just tons of glazing on this thing. And this is all Luck brand. And then on here, you can see this is BMW branded, but it's Luck as well. So I'm guessing this is factory. So not bad, I guess, for 80,000 miles, and you know how many years that is from 2001, 20 years. But you know, it's probably had some good hard romps on it. And surprisingly enough, this was holding up quite well as long as you didn't really just gun it and it would spin a little bit. But it, you know, it would go through the gears and it would propel you around, but definitely gone. So there's that. And then we're gonna have a little bit of a hiccup here. There's the transmission out of the car. That was a little bit of doing to get that out. They're not as straightforward, for example, like on my Mustang with the T56, doing that in and out all by myself. This definitely was a two-person job. So the thing that's holding me up right now, this is the pilot bearing that came with the kit. Sorry about the noise. It's 100 degrees here today, so this thing is really, it's not great, and I'm not feeling good about it. Here's the original, which is in really pretty good shape. It's in such good shape that I'd be almost tempted to put this back in, but you know, having rammed it out, you know, pull it with the puller, you don't know what kind of stress has been put on that thing, so I'm not going to do it. So what's got to happen, since today is Memorial weekend and today happens to be Memorial Day, I can't just run out and get a new pilot bearing. So we're going to get as much stuff together as we can, and you know, we'll leave it hanging until I can get a new pilot bearing, a new real one. I don't know if you can see that, but it's rotating super free, which is good. It's a smooth rolling bearing, but it's like it's not packed at all. It's stressing me out, so I'm not going to use it. That's the deal on that. This was all part of a kit. This was in that same kit that had that release bearing in here that was just total garbage. And I think that's really one of the main reasons why I'm so stressed out by this, is if this is such garbage, what's this deal? And I looked up the part number. This is like a $7 part, which price doesn't have a bearing on anything really, but the factory part's like a $30 part, and you can really tell the difference. So anyway, that's where we're at. We're gonna finish up doing the drive line. We're gonna put the center support bearing in the drive line. We'll go ahead, we'll mount up the pressure plate, sorry, the flywheel. We can still do that. We will do the rear main seal. We can still do that. and we'll do the rebuild on the shifter. So there's still lots to do, but we won't be able to get the transmission in today. So that's it.
Quick little update. Got the rear main seal in, and got some extra sealant on the bottom. What's interesting is when you take this off, you'll notice that there's no sealant. It doesn't look like they ever put any factory sealant on there, and it was bone dry. But the Bentley manual and some videos I've seen online from like Turner Motorsports, they all suggest putting RTV. So we've done that just along the bottom, and then the just on the bottom, and then the around the top it's just the dry gasket. At least that's what I did. So hopefully that's gonna be fine. Spent a number of hours today. We had one of our bolts broke off, just like a little tiny bit. It was just like the very end of the bolt broke off, but enough to take like 4 hours. So we drilled it, and then we you know, were able to finally knock it out. It caught the drill bit actually caught it and spun it out the back, and then we went back in, and then we tapped out the holes. We have the right taps for all this stuff. So cleaned out all the threads, chased all the threads for the bolts, and then chased the threads for the studs. So those are all nice and clean, ready for us to go. And believe it or not, that was kind of a full day just doing those few things. The next thing we'll do when it's cooler is we will do this shifting mechanism and all the stuff that's included in that. But you know, I don't want to be in the car. It's 100 degrees out, and inside that car it's got to be 100, who knows, 50 or something, but I'm not gonna do it. So we'll do it another day, and that's it. Waiting for, we'll get a pilot bearing. Talked about that earlier today. We'll get that knocked in, get the clutch thrown up on there, and then we'll attack putting the transmission and the exhaust back in when my my assistant, my brother, gets back in town, so like a week from now or so. Until then, we'll throw the cover on the car. I mean, she's never been out of the garage this long since I've owned her, so we'll get her covered up so the sun doesn't tear apart all that nice leather stuff I've all reconditioned, and we'll pick up on that later on.
Almost forgot to mention, we did get the new center support bearing transferred onto the driveline, and this, for future reference, if anybody's asking, this is really a pain in the butt. So, you know, that is torqued on quite heavily. We broke it free in the car and thought it would be pretty easy coming out, and it wasn't, you know, the end of the world, but it really wasn't that easy either. So, you know, for future reference, I would back that out as far as I could while it was in the car, and that's that. So that is done. So center support bearing is done. When the whole driveline is back in the car, I'll come back and I will torque that down. If there's a torque spec for it, I don't know how you get it. I don't know. I don't have a torque wrench that's going to get in there. So yeah, just go to maximum, you know, give it all the torques you can. All the ugga-duggas, whatever you like to call them. So we'll figure that out once she's all back in the car. And so we're wrapping it up. Got the beast all in her cocoon over here, in his cocoon, sorry. And that's it. We'll pick this back up in probably about a week. Just continuing on with some of the shifter retrofit, rework, cleanup, whatever. There's the old carrier. That was in really good shape. There's no cracks or anything in there. It's gonna be hard to see, but it was okay. The little bushings were okay. They're pretty beat up now from me pushing on them to get out of the shift rod, but I mean, they were okay. The cup was okay. There wasn't any real grease in there, which is odd. I thought there would be something. And you know, so there's the new one. There's the new shift bushing. Here's the new rubber bushings for the front, all in. And then got the new, I don't know what you call this thing, but there's the new one of those on the back. It's interesting. I think this is brass. I mean, it looks brass, but it was considerably lighter than the old one. So just a fun fact. I mean, this one's pretty heavy, but anyway, yeah, this was okay. Wasn't really all worn. That little foamy stuff that's in here. See if I can get some better light. Yeah, you can't really see it, but it was a little mushy, I guess. Anyway, so that's all been replaced. And the shift ball looks good. I'm not doing a short shifter or anything like that. I'm just putting the original throw shifter in here. And I'll use some of the white lithium grease in the cup just for you know, to keep it nice and smooth shifting. So that's where that's at. I finally got my throw out bearing in, so I'll throw that in and then start putting the clutch assembly back together, and then I'll get a helper back. My brother's going to come back at some point here, and we'll throw the transmission and exhaust and the rest of it back in. That's all there is for today. The new pressure plate, clutch, flywheel, all done, all torqued, ready to go. Have the new pivot in. Used a I don't know if we can see that back there, but it's a the brass pivot. Can't see it. New pivot arm. Of course, our new throw out bearing. All installed. Ready to go. So we're just finishing up. We'll get the shift lever all put back in, and then we're ready to slide the transmission back up. We'll get the exhaust back up. Thinking for ease of installation, might pull the rear bumper off. These side mounts were a little bit challenging. It was really tight, so we'll give it a go. And if it's too tight, if I think I'm gonna mess up the paint or something, pull the rear bumper. It is a 15-minute job. One of the easiest things you'll do. But that's it for now. So quick update. The transmission's all line and bolted up. Flex disc is bolted up halfway. We'll get the other side when the drive line's in. The shifter is all put back together with all the new components. And drive line is in. New nuts on the back. New center support bearings up. Just taking a quick look back here at the differential. It's interesting. It looks wet, but it's not. I don't know how to describe it, but this is all just, it's all just dry. So nothing to worry about. I was a little concerned initially, but no, I'm not. This is just road gook. You know, you get a little bit of weep from maybe somewhere, but it's nothing. Should have this buttoned up sometime today.
Okay, so that is everything. That's the exhaust system back in, the belly pan's back up, the O2 sensors all plugged back in, obviously the exhaust all back up, and the new flex disc, of course, all up in there. And moving back, all systems go. One of the things that we found putting the exhaust back in was just pulling the rear bumper off. It was a real quick process, so easier to drop it. If you're watching this and thinking you're gonna do this, pull the bumper, save yourself some heartburn taking the exhaust out and putting it back in. But that's it. That is job done. Would I do this again? Probably. I don't know what a shop would charge me. But if it was a fair amount, I might go for it. I mean, if the labor wasn't crazy expensive, I might go for it. But yeah, this was definitely more challenging than my Mustang. It was definitely more challenging than my other GM cars. And I don't know why. It just was. So anyway, that's it. Until next time, have a good time.